The vast North American wilderness is home to evil forces thought only to exist in nightmares. But the terrible creatures that roam here are all too real. Many think ghost hunting is fun and games. They're wrong. Treating spirits without respect can have dire consequences.
I'm the most scared I've ever been in my life.
My only instinct was to run.
Shot toward us was coming to get us.
Because I was terrified.
The worst thing that can happen when you go looking for ghosts is you find them.
There's always been something about that night, and scared me.
With the whole development of all of the paranormal shows and all of the ghost hunting, it's become almost like a hobby for a lot of people to go out and interact with this paranormal energy. Let me tell you, it can be very dangerous.
Not many people come out to the lake at this time of year. Not unless they have a good reason, like Josh and his wife Carol.
The plan was for me and my wife to go out for a night that we wouldn't forget. I remember it was dusky, and there's like this fog that was on the lake, and I do remember that. That was kind of eerie.
Josh agreed to meet with his friend Bob, who has promised the adventure of a lifetime.
Hey man, nice night, huh?
He's the one that had all the knowledge. I didn't know anything about the area. He didn't tell me a whole lot ahead of time.
All right, let's do it.
Hop in.
I just kind of went with him and trusted him on it. He promised a good, scary night.
Quote for this crap.
The whole idea of exploring haunted areas without being reverent to the spirits that are there can end up in a very, very dangerous type of situation.
But he told me going out to that area, Sugarloaf, that I'd be guaranteed to see something that night. I could tell ahead of time it was going to be an interesting night, one way or the other. And the car ride's quiet at this point. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's dark, there's no houses, nobody around.
Great. No service. Wonderful.
This was 2003. We're out rural area in Oklahoma. There were like no cell towers. None of us had a signal. My wife was a big non-believer. She was the exact opposite of my friend Bob. My wife's really getting frustrated. You know, this is really boring. I could be sitting at home. You guys are stupid. You got us out in the middle of nowhere. We could have a wreck or break down. Nobody'd be able to help us. Going out with him, I just really felt like I was in my element there. Well, I've always wanted to find out the truth and what's really out there. I'd always been interested in it as a kid and everything. I was more scared of it then. There were some things that happened in my childhood I couldn't explain, and I had a real religious family, so I really never got to seek those answers. All you can really hear on the drive over there is the crunch of the gravel under the tires. He had stopped the car in a manner where we're actually facing this field and hillside, and he's got his bright lights on. And he gets us out of the car.
Oh, come on.
You can definitely sense that feeling that if something went down, you know, you're out there by yourself. There's no help.
I've heard about this place. I really want to check it out, you guys. Come on.
It's just a bad idea.
Come on.
Let's go, come on.
They head up a deserted hillside, or rather, supposedly deserted. Local legend has it that ghosts reside here.
As much as I wanted to take it seriously, at this point, I'm just trying to have fun with the night.
Crazy stories, but
Now, I regret feeling that way because the way I was acting is probably what led to what scared me so bad.
Guys, I really don't know about this.
It's important for you to have your energy in the right place before you do this. If you don't, some of the dangers can be being physically or energetically attacked by spirits.
I think we're getting close.
I had been trying to stay positive, but at this point, even I'm starting to get frustrated. Just wondering when something exciting's gonna happen.
It's okay. Come on, come on. Okay?
No.
This looks like a good spot.
My wife is talking about how it's a bust, nothing's happening. It was more of like, we were being dumb. You guys are stupid. You got us out in the middle of nowhere.
This is such a joke.
Okay, this is good.
Guys, can we just go, please?
all the way here. Come on.
Bob is trying to shush us and telling us, wait a minute.
You're not gonna want to miss this. Trust me.
Exactly at midnight, this light comes on in the middle of the hillside. And it just kind of stays in one place at first.
What's that?
I remember it hushed my wife up pretty quick when it came on. It hushed me too. And the light began swaying kind of back and forth. That's when I mentioned it kind of looks like an old lantern, like an old kerosene lantern, somebody walking through the woods. I don't know if it's because I had an attitude, nothing can touch me, but I scream out to it.
Let's find out. Hello! Who's down there?
Oh, it's so scary, a little light in the woods. Is that all you can do?
Real funny, guys. Come on out.
I'm kidding. Shut up.
You crazy?
And I look up, and the lantern light is now coming down the hillside at an unhuman pace. It's coming fast, the way it just came down the trees and shot down the hillside and across the field. My wife screams. All of us at the same time, we're all thinking flight. I knew it couldn't be human.
Josh LaRue, his wife Carol, and friend Bob are hunting for ghosts in the woods.
Heard about this place. I really want to check it out, you guys. Come on.
It's just a bad idea.
And now, they wish they weren't.
There can be a lot of different dangers that appear when you're interacting with spirits.
All right, down.
I've seen people go through possession. I've seen people have their energy taken away.
Real funny, guys. Come on out.
I've seen people physically attacked by spirits as well.
So I got a feeling of terror as soon as it started coming across that field.
Go!
When we just booked it into the car.
Go!
I feel in the pit of my stomach almost the same fear I was feeling that night. This is creeping me out more than I thought it would.
Come on, man. Let's go. Go! Come on, get out of here! Let's go!
Hurry up! Go!
We're in the car and they're all getting on me about yelling at this ghost, calling it out like that. So all the blame goes to me. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have done what I did. And I could see that she was scared too. And at that point, she was really ready to go home.
Will you just relax?
I told you this was a bad
Get in the
idea.
car. Just get in the
No
car,
one listens
okay?
to me. No one listens to me. Right.
Okay,
I think we
get in the
should go
car and
back.
we'll get out of here. What'd you say?
I think we should go back. I want to find out what that was.
No, we're not going back.
Bob's asking, why did we run? We should have just stayed to see what it was.
We gotta get out of here. All right?
Seriously?
What?
It's not starting.
Try it again, try it again, try it again.
And the truck won't come on. Not only will it not start, just completely dead. And no lights were left on, anything like that when we left.
We gotta get out of here.
I want to go back. I want to find
No,
out what
man.
that was. You're not...
I've got jumper cables. We're gonna use the jumper cables. Got it? Pop the hood. Pop the hood. Let's go.
What?
We raise our hoods and we connect jumper cables from his car to my truck.
Ready?
All right, Carol, start
As soon as we connect the cables, the battery cables just go up in flames. Like flash paper. Just a flash of fire, ashes, melted rubber on the ground.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. You okay?
God.
And, you know, me and Bob are looking at that, talking to each other like, what the heck just happened there? When the truck didn't start, and especially when the jumper cables went up in flames, my first thought was something paranormal, something that we tapped into that night, you know, was keeping us local. We hear this motor off in the lake. It's after midnight, it's November, it's cold, somebody's out on a lake, but as the noise got closer, me and Bob both stopped talking. And this boat is coming at us fast to the dock. This bright spotlight came on. These two men step off the boat and start walking towards us. They don't turn the light off, and without the light, they would still be able to see us. The moon was out, so it wasn't like pitch black at this lake.
You got a problem here? Car trouble?
Nothing we can't handle, guys. It's okay.
Looks like your pretty little cables couldn't handle the shock, huh?
Before me and Bob could say anything, the guy says, well, we got some stuff in our boat. I was already feeling uneasy, the way that he turned his head towards my wife.
We'll get you fixed up real good.
And it says, yeah, fix them right up. Me and Bob can't decide which is creepier, the lights or these two guys.
You guys wait here. We got something for you.
Turn, walk slowly back to their boat, and they're fidgeting with stuff, and we can't really see because this spotlight is blinding us. And the same thing that was going through my mind was going through his. We're gonna have to fight these guys. Me and Bob we're not exactly fighters, but we're ready to fight at this point. You know, wanting to protect my wife. I had tire tools, and I gave Bob one, I took one. We were thinking the same thing. We're gonna have to throw down with these big old hillbillies. It's not that we could predict that these were nefarious people, but it was just weird that they were out on this lake on such a cold night. So we're standing there, we got our tire tools like next to our legs trying to conceal them. And we start hearing chains rattling around, like heavy chains. The chains rattling was the last straw. Really, I don't believe any words were spoken. I think we just kind of looked at each other and we both just got in the car. There was a big enough creep factor that we didn't want to stick around to see what happened next. I knew that it had to have been something paranormal at that point. And I was like, it's just too much. I never want to come here again. I don't have any interest in seeing a ghost light, finding out who these guys were on the boat. I just want to go back to my normal life. I wasn't seeking paranormal anything.
After this blood-chilling experience, Josh vows to give up on his quest for answers. But vows have a way of being broken.
I felt so terrified. My body was shaking. I was white as a ghost. It was the most terrifying experience of my life. And we thought it was over.
Go! 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 Go!
Josh barely made it out of Sugarloaf Lake alive 3 years ago. He promised never to return. Yet the lure of the paranormal hunt proves too difficult to resist. Unfortunately, he hasn't learned his lesson.
If you're going to interact with spirit or spirit energy, you should have a very defined intent and purpose for what it is that you're doing. This is not recreation. This is not something to do for fun.
Bob contacted me in 2006 and said he had a group of Wiccans that wanted to go out and do paranormal investigations. Do you remember that lantern that we saw back in '03? I told the story about that night to my group, and they're really interested in going out there and do kind of a seance, see if they can't communicate with the spirit. He's like, all you have to do is film it. You don't have to get involved. If things start going south, we'll get out of there.
There is a danger. If people don't know what they're doing or what they're getting themselves into, they can open up a spirit or something to let it out.
We get there a little bit before midnight, and just like before, there's no cell service. 2006, there's still no cell towers been put up in the area. His friends sat in a circle.
Spinning down spirals through the veil of night.
And I remember them pulling out a book. It wasn't like an old, creepy witchcraft book. It looked like a new hardcover.
Spinning down, spiraling through the veil of night. Spinning down, spiraling through the veil. Spinning down, spiraling through the veil.
I began filming their seance.
Spinning down, falling through the veil of night. Spinning down, spiraling through the veil of night, falling through the fear. Spinning down, spiraling through the veil, falling through the fear. Spinning down, spinning down, spiraling.
And just like 3 years ago, the spirit returns at the stroke of midnight.
And terror come back and in the pit of my stomach. And I remember filming their group. They're chanting. There was like no wind, but their candle just goes out. Everybody gets quiet. Bob asked me to cut the camera until they can get this candle lit and start their seance again. And I remember cutting the camera, seeing the light in the field, turning around to face them. And as they're fidgeting, they're trying like 4 lighters and none of the lighters are working. And I start hearing a rustling noise behind me. I feel like In the few moments that I turned my back to the light, that it came down the hillside, across the field, was right behind me. I turn and see the brightest light that I've ever seen in my entire life. A blinding light. And just as quick as it's there, it's gone. Even though the light blinded me, I didn't have any blotches or I wasn't seeing spots. It wasn't like a natural light that would do that to you. It was just a really bright light, but I was seeing clear when it was gone. You know, I'm shaking, I'm freaking out. In the next moment, way off in the distance, we start hearing what sounds like children laughing. I'm getting chills just remembering it right now. The best way I can describe it is like how kids will sing "Row, Row, Row Your Boat," the song. One will start singing the first verse, and a few moments after they start, another kid starts at the beginning of the song. One kid would start laughing. A second or two later, another would start laughing a different way. And it was all around us, way off in the distance. It sounded like hundreds or thousands of kids just laughing. But the laughter is getting louder and louder, and it's getting closer and closer, and to the point that it's deafening. You know, I'm the most scared I've ever been in my life.
It's the fear that really controls the situation. And that's what spirits tend to use to control people, to possess people.
All I thought about was getting in that car, getting out of here and never coming back. Bob peels out, and on this dirt road, gravel flying. For about 3 miles, we could still hear the laughter. It got quieter and quieter and quieter until it was finally gone. And we thought it was over. Bob was having a hard time driving. That's how shaken he was. And about a mile after that, we all hear a snapping noise from the front of the car. And the car stopped dead in its tracks.
What's going on, man? I don't know. It just stopped working. It's dead. What are we gonna do?
Everybody is terrified at this point. These people he brought with him looked like children, you know, just quivering.
I don't know what that was. I don't know.
And as we're sitting there asking each other if we heard what we heard, if we saw what we saw, was that children? We're sitting there so enthralled in this conversation that it takes us a minute to realize that this laughter is coming back. Way off in the distance, but getting closer and closer. It's following us.
Oh, we can't just sit here! Just let me think for a second!
They are now sitting ducks for what's coming for them.
It was the most terrifying experience of my life.
Hunting ghosts at Sugarloaf Lake was never a good idea. The first time Josh and his friends came investigating, they were chased away by a spirit. And narrowly escaped 2 mysterious men. Now they return 3 years later, and things are a lot worse.
The terror just is hitting me so hard. I really felt like everything was just closing in on me. I felt like the laughing children could just reach out and grab me.
He and his companions are stuck in the middle of a deserted road and scared out of their minds.
What's going on, man? I don't know. It just stopped working. It's dead.
We realize that he's not going to be able to get this car going again.
What are we gonna do?
And now, the nerve-shredding laughter of ghostly children returns.
We can't just sit here! I can't. Just let me think for a second!
Bob suddenly gets a signal on his phone.
I have a signal! Go! Call somebody!
Bob dials up his friend, Jess.
Hello? Hey, it's me, it's Bob. You gotta come pick me up. There's 4 of us. We're on the road. We're pulled over to the side.
He asks if she can come pick us up, and he gives her the location, and she says yes.
Just come as fast as you can. What? You're gonna take how long? Okay, just hurry, please.
How long?
I don't know, like 20 minutes.
They realize to their horror, they're not the only ones on this road.
And about 5 minutes goes by, we see these headlights coming down the road towards us. And they're going really slow. It's gonna take his friend probably about 15-20 minutes to get there, so we know it's not her yet. And there's 2 guys in it, heavily bearded. Both at the same time look at each other and say it's the boatmen. And they just stare at us. Just like how they showed up at the lake, they had showed up again. And they drive by. We're really freaking out at this point.
We're emitting fear. We're emitting that energy. And unfortunately, that's kind of the worst thing we can do if there is spirit activity, because that's what they feed off of.
We see headlights coming from the other direction. And it's them again. We got the laughter going on. We got these creepy guys doing God knows what. And then they come by, both of them in the truck. And the one says,
"You guys look like you need some help."
But he doesn't offer help, he just keeps on going. And here we are in the middle of nowhere in a car that won't move. I can't even begin to explain the terror I'm feeling at this point. We're helpless. And the truck comes by one more time. I remember thinking, this is it. I can see the headlights coming. All I'm feeling is dread. It was the most helpless I've ever felt in my life.
You guys look like you need some help.
Josh and his friends are paying the price for hunting ghosts unprepared. Stuck in the middle of the road, surrounded by spirits and under attack.
I can see the headlights coming. All I'm feeling is dread. I really felt like everything was just closing in on me. I felt like the laughing children could just reach out and grab me. And if they didn't reach out and grab me, that these guys would just stop their truck at any time and do whatever they wanted to do, and we'd have no way to stop them. This laughter all around us, and we can't run this time.
I only see one of them. Where's the other guy?
This time, the passenger's gone. It's just the driver. It was the most helpless I've ever felt in my life. And the laughter is the loudest that I heard it. Are they gonna do something to us?
They're getting closer. What do we do?
I remember thinking, this is it.
There's another light.
Before anything else could happen, we saw another set of headlights coming. My first thought was, they're both in a vehicle now. All I'm feeling is dread, terror, one way or the other. This is not going to end well for me. It pulls up and stops. It's Bob's friend.
That's her. You ready?
I didn't feel safe. I still felt like another shoe would drop until I was actually in the car.
Let's go.
Go! Go!
Was just so relieved we were gonna make it out of there. I don't think she really had a chance to really ask any questions. She was just reacting out of fear. She was driving. She was getting us out of there. She went from 0 to 60 on the terror meter.
Faster, come on!
She went from showing up to help some friends out to showing up to help some friends out and to get the heck out of there.
They're still with us, go!
And she's driving as fast as she can on this dirt road, and they're keeping right up. A lot of us thought that we were going to meet our end in some form that night. And as soon as they start driving us back to civilization, we can no longer hear the laughter off in the distance.
They're gone. They're gone.
None of us had any thought ever of going back out there for anything, for any reason.
Josh drove for miles into uncharted forest searching for ghosts. But sometimes you don't have to go very far to find trouble. You can discover it lurking near your own backyard. As happens with Alicia and her friends.
I was never really afraid until that one night, and then it kind of changed the game a little bit for me. And it wasn't until that night that I even thought it was dangerous. My house sat at the base of a hill on kind of an empty dirt road. If you followed the dirt road, you'd reach an old family cemetery. The graves are not really legible, but 1800s. They all kind of bear the same names. Not a lot of people even know that graveyard exists. My whole life, I've never seen anyone there visiting. I'm not even sure if there's any current graves that could be visited. There was always kind of weird stuff, especially around my house and kind of the dark forest behind my house. So we had stuff being stacked up in front of doors. My father, who is a skeptic and doesn't even really like to think about that sort of stuff because it scares him, and he found a string. It was outside of the yard. Followed it until he got to the back of the graveyard. The string kind of angled upwards, and he thought it was a balloon string. But when he followed it all the way up, there was nothing there. But I think that was the first story I told, and that kind of got my friends interested. We kind of gathered at my house, and I know it was dark.
Are you scared?
We usually waited until midnight or 1 a.m. until it was completely dark.
Don't worry, David and I have done this dozens of times.
All without a nightlight, so you're okay.
I think David was one of the first people that I went ghost hunting with. He was the one kind of looking for evidence and trying to find something there.
Just try not to stare into the dark for too long, or else someone might be staring back at you.
I've had experience with paranormal from a young age, so this was something that fascinated me and terrified me at the same time.
Oh, you know, one time, we even heard voices coming from one of the gravestones.
It was awesome. I mean, bone-chilling, but awesome.
Yeah, we screamed so loud.
Tonight, Alicia and David are making the same mistake as Josh and his friends, treating something lightly that they should respect.
I've seen spirits that are very territorial. If people don't have respect for their territory, spirits, they will use their energy to push people out.
This time we brought a newcomer, Brian, who had decided to come with us. I don't remember if he asked or if he had just heard so many stories he had to see it for himself.
Oh, but be careful not to scream too loud. You never know who's listening.
Brian was a little bit younger than us. I remember kind of telling Brian more stories on the way and maybe getting him a little bit more creeped out.
I think Brian was a little bit tense heading down there. He was kind of more keeping to himself and more in a shell at that point.
He was more religious, I think, than both of us, but it's not something we really thought about before we came.
Come on, Brian, you first.
Until we got there, we realized how scared he really was. It meant something different to him than it did to us going in.
Dear Lord, we ask you to protect us as we walk amongst the graves of these departed souls.
It wasn't that we were against him doing it, it's just something we hadn't done before, and it kind of upped the ante a little bit, made it seem more real.
We pray for your forgiveness. We wish peace and eternal rest.
When that happened, I immediately was on edge.
It changed the game a little bit, and it was no longer kind of thing we do for fun.
We say this in your name.
Run!
Alicia has always known there was something lurking in the cemetery in the woods behind her house. Tonight, she and her friends go hunting and tempting fate to find out what it is.
So as soon as Brian finished praying, he was a little more bold, but me and David were definitely more nervous than we had been before. Or at least I felt uneasy, which wasn't very common going to the graveyard. We were more nervous than we had been before. I don't know if it was from the praying or it was just the thing that could make the graveyard creepier. We got into the grave maybe 1/3 into the graveyard when we sort of started to smell that foul smell.
Is it always like this?
No.
Really, really strong, kind of real putrid. And looking around, I really couldn't see any shapes. I could barely see the trees silhouetting the back. I do remember it being especially dark. I don't know if it was the time of year. I felt David next to me go a little bit still.
David, what's wrong?
I said, "What is it?" And he said, "There's something in the corner."
I don't see anything.
And it just looked like murky darkness and maybe like it was moving. And at that point, I wasn't sure if it was my eyes playing tricks on me.
very clearly looking at a shape, which I saw, but I knew was an old tree.
It's just a tree.
It's not a tree.
And he started to shake.
It's just a tree.
And I could feel him tense and either shake from fear or shake from being so tense.
It's just a tree.
It definitely sent a chill up my spine. You know, your heart rate increases, get the goosebumps. It's just that, you know, almost shudder through your whole body. And you just know on an instinctual level that something's not right.
So I was staring at it and trying to make out any movement, but I couldn't really find any movement in the shape. I stared at it longer. I kind of saw some sort of shifting or movement. I felt like I was kind of making out a shape, maybe legs, maybe shoulders, maybe a head. All at once, I could see that it was a real physical thing.
It took form, shadowy silhouette of a figure.
That's when a chill kind of fell over me.
Had the form of a human, but it definitely was not human.
It felt like something was going to hurt us. And that's exactly the feeling I had, was it was an aggressive, like we had done something wrong being there, and it was gonna make us pay for it.
Shot toward us like it was coming to get us.
My only instinct was to run. It meant to get us.
Hurry, come on.
I remember just running and being so afraid to turn around.
Go! Go!
Right there!
Because I was terrified to turn and see something back there.
That way, that way!
I remember forcing myself to look back, and I couldn't spot anything in the dark. We just kept running until we reached the house.
Come on.
Go, go, go!
I knew that we had seen something, and I knew that I felt a real sense of anger and menace in the graveyard, and we were all shaken. I remember Brian was worked up. I don't think he said anything. And it took a couple minutes to kind of relax and cool down. I don't think Brian said much. He was definitely afraid, and especially having prayed beforehand and being a little more religious, I think that it affected him maybe differently than the rest of us.
Are you okay?
I think I should go home.
Brian.
Looking back, I definitely felt I'd crossed the line. Though we only had innocent intentions, we kind of kept going back and trying to find more and trying to find more.
I mean, I felt like we were trespassing, like we were somewhere we shouldn't be, and I don't know if it was the prayer that riled it up and made it angry or what it was.
I've seen ghosts that show hatred towards different people. Ghosts do have emotions in the same way that human beings do. They're essentially a human being without a body. So we can piss off the ghosts just as easily as we could piss off a person.
After that night, I never went back. The ghost hunting pretty much ended, and I just didn't feel like it was safe for us to return.
Alicia and her friends found out the hard way. You don't go hunting for what you don't understand or respect. To this day, Josh still doesn't know how the light, the children, and the boatmen are connected.
The territory of spirits varies. Spirits will create different groups, and they might not have been together on the earth, but they've found each other in that earthbound world.
The experience has changed him forever.
I would tell anybody going out to do their own investigations that you don't know what you're doing. There's no way to be prepared for what's unknown. I think that Bob and his friends got in over their head that night. And whatever they were doing brought forth something that they just didn't expect, that they weren't prepared for.
Provoking spirits. I don't think that's a good idea. You have to treat these energies with respect. And if that doesn't happen, you do open yourself up to a lot of scary stuff.
And I think a piece of whatever it was stuck with me. To this day, it wakes me at night. I still have nightmares. It haunts me during the day too. Anytime I hear kids laughing, it fills me with terror because I'll hear what I heard that night. Just because you can get away doesn't mean that it's gone. Just because you escape physically doesn't mean you will mentally.